Lexus is so serious about its new drive-by-wire system in the RZ 450e that they flew me to Barcelona to try it out on the track. So is the yoke hype real or imagined? Let's just set up the event first. There were only 2 test vehicles, and these things were real prototypes. One lacked the software to switch the drive mode selects. Power delivery was noticeably different between the 2, and both of them had every conceivable light flashing on the dash. This was my first time seeing the RZ in person, and the design is very striking. The exterior shows a much sharper execution of the second generation NX, lower to the ground, with a roofline that avoids the awkwardness of other crossover coupes. Inside, the RZ takes what the NX established and filters out any other detail. The RZ really does feel conceptual in its simplicity, pared down only to the essentials. The RZ 450e features the Lexus driving signature, which is the new baseline for Lexus performance. There really is a tendency for Lexus to speak in abstractions, but there are 3 core technologies with the RZ that really demonstrate the LDS concept in more practical terms. The RZ 450e, together with the Toyota BZ4X, are the first 2 vehicles to be built on this new eTGNA platform, which is really just designed for battery electric vehicles. The best way to think about it in your mind is that the RZ is shorter than the RX, but it has a longer wheelbase and more interior space. The other technology introduced with the RZ is Direct 4, which is the next generation Lexus all-wheel drive system. In front, the electric motor generates 150 kilowatts and is mounted vertically to maximize interior space. And then in the back, there's an 80 kilowatt electric motor, which is placed horizontal for better weight distribution. In total, this is 308 horsepower, and what makes Direct 4 notable is the way that it can split the front and rear torque. The final piece of the puzzle is this new steer-by-wire. And what that means is that there's no mechanical link between the steering and the wheels. Instead, the system kind of works like this real-life driving simulator, where it's continuously sending electronic inputs and outputs back and forth between the steering wheel and the front axle. Any road feel or steering weight is really just an approximation, and it can be dampened or elevated depending on user preference. This also means that the steering wheel itself is not bound to any traditional rules, and Lexus has taken advantage of this by introducing this design that drops the full circle that you expect with sort of an F1 yoke style shape. The Lexus yoke is variable, meaning that the turning radius adjusts depending on speed, never actually goes full circle. So with all this preamble, when it actually came to driving the RZ, Lexus turned us loose on the track. I have to say, this makes for a disconcerting moment. You step on the gas while holding something that feels more like a video game controller. But really, the first corner is all of the experience that you need. When driving at speed, there is no difference between steering with the yoke or with a traditional steering wheel. The actual more impressive thing about steer-by-wire is how it transmits the road surface to the yoke, despite there being no real connection between the 2. It's at lower speeds when the yoke wheel reveals the learning curve. The limited rotation of the actual yoke wheel means faster and more abrupt cornering. They had this slalom course set up, and I was able to navigate it without hitting any cones, but the experience was slightly unsettling. I have to think that this feeling would fade away in short order, but it was a reminder that changing the way that you drive a car does require a little bit of practice. There is more to a driving experience, and trying to separate the impact of steer-by-wire as compared to the new platform or the Direct 4 all-wheel drive system is going to require more time behind the wheel. So how much can you take away from 7 laps? I just want to end on this point. It wasn't until the last lap that I remembered that the RZ 450e is a crossover and not a new sedan. In my 15 years of covering the brand, Lexus has never once put me on a track in a crossover. And that, more than anything, should tell you all you need to know.